Oh, okay, so to explain, you know, like all your gold, your diamond chains and such, your diamonds, that's your ice, man.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with what you just said, though. Do you know?
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm Noah Wilder.
And I'm Elias Chavez.
Anyway, and this is...
We're going to go with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Chavez. And this is our Christian viewing experience. And hey, Elias, how's the past one day been?
Well, excellent question, co-host Noah Wilder. So, actually, it's been pretty good. Yesterday I was very sleepy. Today, I am not as sleepy. And I feel like I talk about that on all of these recordings, but that's beside the point. Anyways, to catch the audience up to date real quick, Noah here is going on a little bit of an M trip over to... he's going on his mission trip over to Cyprus.
M trip.
Well, okay, some places you can't use the word missionary.
Well, no one in Cyprus is going to hear this, so it's fine. Right?
Cyprus, hello?
Right, Cyprus, please tell me. Anyway,
the point is, he's going to be leaving.
I will not be here next week, so we are recording 2 episodes in 1 week.
Back to back.
One day after the other. And so, Elias, what happened in the past day?
In the past day, the tech industry's been hit hard. Because of the coronavirus.
Oh.
I wanted to transition into news.
Oh, dang. Well, yesterday, for me, since you don't care to ask, was a good day. I had a pretty good day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad.
I saw you. Saw my wife.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see your wife.
I had hibachi, so that was a good time.
You went to Fuji again?
Yeah.
Bro, I see you eating over there all the time.
I eat there like twice a month.
Dude, I see you over there every time you go, I feel like I see you over there. I see you there so much.
Okay.
Although I will say that it's like how much? Like 7 something, like 8 something, maybe 9 something. I don't know. For that chicken hibachi, like that, and you get so much. That's honestly a pretty great deal.
It is a good deal. Aside from that, it's my wife's birthday today. Happy birthday, Sarah Beth. But you won't be hearing this.
Hi, wife.
On your birthday.
Sorry, that's
not
wife. That's
your
Noah's
wife.
Stop.
We'll be in Cyprus when you hear this, probably. So
she's gonna listen to this in Cyprus?
I don't know. I don't know if she'll ever listen to it, honestly.
I was gonna say, that's a very large assumption.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, happy birthday whenever you listen to this. So, you want to transition into news,
dude?
now.
I want to talk about this so badly. So the coronavirus, it's here, it's happening, and because of that, there are all of these like Apple, their big conference is basically been canceled. Google's canceling their thing. There's all these conferences that are supposed to happen every year that just aren't going to happen. But E3 is still on track for happening, and I think it's very funny because E3 has like the worst track record when it comes to like keeping like people's information private and everything. So I'm just thinking about this, and I'm like, oh man, this is a really bad idea. But PlayStation has said that they're not going to be there for the 2nd year in a row, although that's old news. But regardless, it's craziness. Like E3, like at this point, why are you even holding it? Like, do you not realize, like, hey, this is bad. I don't get it. I don't get why they're still doing this. Anyway,
okay.
I just really wanted to share that news story.
Oh, well, I saw a news story the other day. Apparently, the Hollywood industry, movies and things, has lost $7 billion due to the coronavirus.
Yeah.
How does the coronavirus interact with movies? No idea. But they've lost $7 billion.
Well,
I just read the headline. I didn't read the article.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, dude, because as much... You got to think about it as like population density. As much money as American movies make in America, it's that global like market, dude.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm just
What's
saying,
that have to do with the coronavirus?
The fact that the coronavirus, China is the next, like after America, like the next people who watch movies. them Chinese. And you know what? They're not going into large open rooms to watch movies, like enclosed spaces like that. That's not...
So, what you're saying is potentially, because of the coronavirus,
people in China...
piracy has gone up.
That's
what I got.
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying.
That's my leap ahead, like 5 steps from where you were.
I wouldn't be surprised by that, but you said that's what I'm saying, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that people in China have stopped going to movie theaters because they don't want to catch, I don't know, like the cold.
Okay.
Sorry, not cold, COVID-19. That was a bad joke, but anyway.
Just stop. And it's fun that we're talking about coronavirus because I'm leaving the country in 2 days. Yay! I gotta wipe down everything. It's gonna suck. Aside from that, my dad recommended a news story to me yesterday.
Recommended?
Yes.
A news story?
Yes, I sent him the podcast and he was like, here's a news story, so I'm gonna read it. You've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Not the whole movie. I've not seen the whole movie.
You've practically seen it.
Yes, I've seen like 75 to 80% of it.
Okay. Well, Quentin Tarantino says he will write and direct all 5 episodes of eventual Bounty Law series based on the Bounty Law series from the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh.
So Quentin Tarantino is going to make a miniseries based on that fake TV show.
Okay, well that would be really cool. And that's honestly super that's really on brand for Quentin Tarantino to be like, all of these things are interconnected, and you as the audience are part of this world that I built. Anyway, sorry, no, that's just so his style.
There's going to be a TV show inside of this TV show about the future, and it's just going to be us watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
It's going to be the audience. So, did that article have any information on like where that would be released? Or...
I'm looking at it right now. You're gonna fill in the times while I'm looking at it.
Or I could just be completely silent, and it would be a really great bit for this audio podcast.
That would not be good. Just saying.
Okay. Wow, you are... How long is this article where you're still looking?
It doesn't say.
Okay. So the whole news story that you have is strictly Quentin Tarantino has mentioned that
it's like he is going to make this.
Oh, okay. So it's
doesn't know where it's going to happen.
Okay.
Like, is it going to be on HBO or Netflix or what? Mm-hmm. But he's going to do it, and he's saying that he is like, depending on what TV studio he goes to, he is still willing to write and direct every episode of it.
Okay.
So, what do you think about that?
I think that it is a really good idea. I think, like I said, I think it's very much in line with Quentin Tarantino's style already. Having like an interconnected world like that, that's just kind of what he does. Quentin Tarantino is like a super nerd. That's just what he is.
What? Okay, why don't you tell me the concept of bounty law in the movie so I can understand what the show would be? Elias?
Wait. So backing up right now.
The TV show in the movie, what is it about?
No. Well, okay, cool. My question to you is this.
Because I've not seen the movie.
Okay, that was going to be my question to you. I was under the impression... So you've not seen this?
No.
Did we go over this in the test podcast that we recorded forever that the audience is never, ever going to be allowed to listen to in a million years?
Probably.
Because
we looked through the Oscar nominations and you're like, I've seen all of these but 2. Yeah. I've seen 2 of them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see all of them.
But you wanted to... actually, on that note, did you ever get around to watching... Did you or did you not ever watch Marriage Story?
No, I never watched Marriage Story.
Dude.
Okay.
It's just...
I'm living a marriage story. I don't need to watch it. That's for you single people.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Did that offend you?
It didn't offend me. It just broke my heart.
Okay. What are you looking up over there?
I'm gonna Google to see if there's any... Okay. Basically, Leonardo DiCaprio, he plays this character in Bounty Law, okay? Rick. His name is Rick. And he plays a bounty hunter.
So did you not remember this from the movie?
No. I wanted to see if there was any more details on this.
Oh, okay.
And it just... Yeah. GQ has an article on it. Esquire has an article on it.
Esquire.
Why
would Esquire have an article?
Well, here's the thing. Oh, actually, on that note, it's
at?
Esquire Middle East. It's not even like American.
That's weird.
It's
okay.
specifically the Middle Eastern branch of Esquire has an article on it.
Okay.
Anyways, but yeah, so Leonardo DiCaprio, his character, Rick something, Rick Dalton, there we go. Rick Dalton, he plays a bounty hunter, and he's a Lone Ranger type of guy. Like, he goes out and he sets the world right, so to speak.
Okay.
So actually, the show's title is basically everything you need to know. Bounty Law. He is a bounty hunter, but also like law, justice. Like, he goes out there, he fights for that. Yeah.
He's like the Mandalorian.
Look, not all westerns are the Mandalorian.
No, I'm saying, but he's a bounty hunter that is doing the right thing.
Okay, I mean,
and
yes,
righting wrongs and stuff.
Wrong. And things.
And killing droids. And also killing that Mudhorn thing.
I was gonna say
for no good reason.
Is that what westerns do?
Probably not, but
my favorite episode of The Lone Ranger is when he
Bonanza.
fights IG-88.
Anyway, no, he fights the bad guys and he kills the animals that are terrorizing the village or whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Don't act like you don't.
No, I'm not acting like I don't. I'm just also like, is this really?
Okay,
really?
well, I'm just going to move on from that.
Okay.
That was a short news segment since it's only been one day.
Yeah. I was going to say, I can fill up more time.
No, you're good. Wait, you have more news things?
No, I was going to say I could talk about my life more or something.
Oh.
But
No, it's too late. You lost your opportunity.
I did. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the coronavirus and look at where we are now.
Yeah, because you jumped ahead. It's all your fault.
Was it in my arrogance?
Yes.
In my anger?
What are you quoting?
Episode 3 of Star Wars. When he's like, Padme, is she alive? And Palpatine's all like, in your anger, you killed her.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weird no.
I've noticed the Star Wars series is so full of weird no's. Like that.
Like
Luke does
it's,
his no when he loses his hand and finds he's like, Luke, I am.
That's a good no. That's like
He's
a
like,
weird emotion.
No.
That sounds more like the Emperor's no.
No. But that's what I'm saying. There's so many weird no's in Star. No one guesses.
Darth Vader's no in episode 3 is the weirdest one because he's like, no one says no like that. Like that. Darth Vader doesn't even say no like that.
Yeah.
No one yells no.
No.
What do you do? Like me yelling no just then.
Yeah.
I was like,
Felt so
I was
weird.
consciously aware of how my lips should not be in that oh sound while I'm making the noise. I was like, this is not how you make a loud noise.
But that's what I'm saying. It's such a weird in-joke of Star Wars that just there's not a person who ever is just like, no one ever just says no and is like, oh yeah, no, sorry, not feeling it today. Like, no, it's always some weird, crazy, drawn out thing.
Someone out there, not me, should make an edit of every time someone says no in Star Wars, and we'll We'll watch it and do a commentary on it.
Do a commentary on our Patreon tier.
We don't have a Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon.
Sorry that Elias just lied to you. Wow, I'm so disappointed. Anyway.
Good job on the Christian content.
Lying to the entire audience. I've probably done it as a joke too. I'm sorry, audience.
I'm sorry, audience. Anyway, so here we are. What's next?
I think we're doing feature presentation now.
Wow, we're not.
That was fast.
Like 30, 40 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, I know. So
Okay.
maybe we'll actually be shorter.
Yeah, we've gotten some feedback
That tell us to be shorter.
that told us like, hey, y'all are rambling.
Audience interaction. Should we be shorter? Also, should Elias sing in every podcast?
No.
Just answer the question, guys.
Can. There's like
Just
the
email
microphone
us.
yells back at us.
Email us, tweet us at OVCE pod.
OCVE.
What? Oh, wait, yeah. OCVE pod on Twitter.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Our
viewing
Christian.
of the Christian experience.
We're not Christians. We look at Christians watching things and we think, that's weird.
And we tell you guys about it for apparently too long.
Yeah. Anyway. Just tell us what you think, guys.
Anyways, so I led last time.
Yeah, so I'll start this time.
So you go.
So mine isn't really from a movie or a TV show or anything, but it is from like a common, at least American experience of like going to Disney, right?
Okay.
You've gone to Disney before, right?
I've been to a Disney.
You've been inside Disney. Now, this all makes sense because people say that, so I don't know why we're laughing.
I've been to a Disney. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Continue.
So 2 years ago, me and my wife, girlfriend at the time,
I was
with
gonna
a
say
few
current wife.
Yes, with a few of our friends, we went to Disney World over the summer, and
Yeah.
okay.
I'm good. I closed my eyes for a second and Noah flicked me in the throat.
You were falling asleep as I told
closed
my story.
eyes.
It's not okay.
Oh my gosh.
I can't fill the void without you.
The void.
The silence.
Oh my gosh. I hated that.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
I was relaxed and I was just
You put your head back with your eyes closed, and I saw your Adam's apple, and I was like, I'm gonna touch it. Anyway,
continue.
So we were going to Disney World, and it was her first time going to Disney World. And by the way, my wife loves Disney a lot. Just movies, parks, everything. She loves Disney. She quotes Disney, and I have no idea what's going on half the time when she quotes Disney.
That checks out.
Like yesterday, she called me into a room in our apartment, and like I was in the living room, she was in a different room, and she goes, "Hello? Are there any animals in here?" And if you don't know, that's a quote from Lilo and Stitch. Very obscure, and I like.
It's my favorite Disney movie. I want to make that very clear right now. Lilo and Stitch is my personal favorite.
Did you recognize the quote?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I smiled.
Okay, yeah, she said that when she was trying to get me to come to the room. And so I had to like stop and like, I know she's quoting something.
I know she's quoting.
What is she doing? Oh, it's when Lilo's doing the thing in the pound. I know what's going on. So my wife loves Disney, and she'd never been to Disney World, is the point. And so we were going to Disney World, like, and we planned this like 2 or 3 weeks ahead, maybe a month. So, like, that's real short notice for going to Disney World.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, so she was really, really excited to go to Disney World. And, like, when we got there, she, like, started crying. It was she was very, very happy while we were there. So I'm very happy we went. But aside from that, on the way down, we were, like, an hour away from the hotel we were going to stay at. Because we had a friend who was doing... what do you call it? Work-study thing in Disney. What is it called? College program?
Yeah.
The Disney college program?
Disney college.
So she was a cast member at the Disney parks, and she got us a cheap hotel at the Disney parks and cheaper tickets, so that's why we could do it in under a month. But anyway, we were on the way down there, and we were like an hour away from the hotel according to the GPS, and it's like 11 o'clock at night because it's like a 13-hour ride from Louisville, and we got stopped in traffic 1 hour away. You okay? Your eyes are bugging out. Are you crying?
No, I'm not. You can look at me and distinctly see that I'm not.
Crying that I was in traffic?
My homeboy was out there 12 hours away from my home.
So we were 12 hours away from home, 1 hour away from the hotel, and we got stopped in traffic on the highway, and every lane was stopped because a semi-truck and a garbage truck hit each other.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it took a minute to clear it out. It actually took 4 hours to clear it out. So
roughly a minute.
Yeah, so we didn't start moving again until 3-something in the morning. So during that time, I took a nap in the back seat. Okay. My wife cannot sleep in a car, so she was just chilling with our friend Michael, who agreed to drive. We paid him gas money, so don't worry about that. So Michael gets out and talks to like the other people in the other cars, and he got a free book and from a guy that wrote a book, and he just was giving it out to people, and he met a lot of different people, and I was asleep the whole time. But aside from that, my wife, even though this type of thing would normally stress her out, was completely fine the entire time, and even got out and talked to strangers and did different stuff, which like surprised me when I found out, because that would usually stress her out a lot. You know, would that stress you out, or would you be talking to strangers like this?
Have you met me? I'd be talking. The only thing is, it's 3 a.m. at that point.
Yeah.
So I would be concerned for how I would be received by said strangers.
Oh, other people were doing it.
Okay. As long as everyone's doing it, I'm fine. But like,
I think one guy gave him food, like he had in his car.
That's
because we hadn't eaten since dinner. He had just like a bag of chips, and he gave it to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not like he was cooking in the back of his car.
No. I was just imagining he was like, I got some leftover chicken pesto.
I love chicken pesto. Don't you dare tempt me with chicken pesto.
Dude, chicken pesto is so good.
Anyway, so the whole point is my wife was okay during this time on the way to Disney. And so I wanted to bring up a verse that plays into this a little bit. It's James 1, 2, and 3. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Actually, I'm going to throw in verse 4 too. And let steadfastness have its full effect, and that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So, the idea is, count it all joy when you face trials. And so, my wife, who would normally be stressed out about 4 hours of traffic in the middle of the night, is perfectly fine. And you know why? You want to guess?
Because of the Bible?
No. Sadly, oh no.
Because she was going to Disney?
Yes, because she was going to Disney. So who cares about the 4 hours of traffic as long as you're still going to Disney?
Yeah. Because of the Bible?
Yeah. Oh no. She wasn't happy because the Bible... Anyway, so the idea is like the same thing. When we're living our life as Christians, we're just on the journey to heaven. We're going through the process of what's called sanctification, where we become more and more holy and more perfect. And that process isn't done until we die and we go to heaven and we receive a new body, a new mind, a new spirit, and all those things that brings us into full perfection with God, so that we may be in the presence of God. And so there's a lot of concepts in there that I hope we get to talk about someday. But aside from that, the idea is that we're going on this journey to heaven, to our home, to God. And so when we encounter trials, yes, they're going to suck. They're not going to be good things. They're still going to be trials. They're called trials because they're not good. Like 4 hours in traffic just isn't good. It's not going to make you happy in itself, but the knowledge of who you are in Christ and the knowledge of where you're going and that you're being made new every day allows you to work through those trials with joy. It's not saying be happy that you get stuck in traffic for 4 hours, or be happy when a loved one dies, or be happy when you are sick, when you need to be at work because you have bills due or whatever. It's saying even those things are happening, you can still find joy because of who you are and where you're going and the growth that you experience from the trials and the growth you experience, period, every day. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No, I see where you're coming from.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about that? Anything to add?
Why do you explain things so well? And then
I want you to have stuff to say.
Okay.
So I explain everything so you can, like, interject and, like, say, oh, that one thing you said, let's talk about that. But
okay, well, I'm just you always phrase it as though, like, do you have anything new you want to add? And I'm like,
you can just
no,
talk to
I don't
me
have
about it.
new
I
things.
doubt everyone who's listening is going to completely understand what I was saying. Okay, so do you have anything to say?
Well, in that case, for the audience's benefit.
Do you think, just say, if all you have to say is, that was interesting, say that was interesting.
It was very interesting. I think that as Christians, we often get caught up in two different extremes. Whereas, like, on one hand, we will often find ourselves in these places where we're like, oh man, like I'm going through a hard time or whatever, and we completely deny the spiritual aspect of our lives. Mm-hmm. Whereas in other moments, and I guess even tying into that sometimes, when you're going through those really tough times, and somebody will come up to you and recite a verse like that, and they'll be like, oh, don't worry, just count your trials as joys. And you're like, yeah, cool.
But how?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but coming from that perspective, there are the people who do that very well, and that's, they're very good at doing that, at counting their trials as joys.
Yeah.
And that is a skill. That is a spiritual blessing in a way. But also they can get so caught up in having that, like, being able to, like, oh, like, this persecution, like, I can count this as joy before the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing, but I don't know. Get so caught up in that and in the perspective of that, they fail to see how that could be discouraging to other believers. So there's a bit of a give and take with those two. Yeah,
and I think
spiritual identities.
What we just read in Acts 5, because we're going through Acts, people who are listening, both of us are going through Acts. At the end of it, it just says basically, and all the apostles were beat up, and once the people who beat them up left, they were rejoicing because they had suffered trials for their faith.
Yep.
So, like, they were actually, like, praising God for it. And so, like, wow. Yeah. That's a way different way of living your life in that, like, they're not enjoying it while they're getting beat up, but, like, afterward they have the perspective to know that it's still a blessing and still good for them.
Yeah.
Even though, like, it's not in itself a good thing.
Sure. I mean, Paul, he talks about, like, how, like, basically essentially it seems like he'd seen, like, visions of heaven. Mm-hmm. And how, not in Acts 5, to be clear. But he's talking about, like, how he's, like, seen, like, visions of heaven and, like, all these, like, wonderful, beautiful things. But he also discusses how he has a quote-unquote thorn in his flesh. And nobody knows what that thorn in his flesh was. But he talks about that, quite frankly. It's just like, but he also discusses why that's there. He just says that the thorn in his flesh is there specifically to humble him, to like put humility in him. Because I can imagine how being a dude who's on earth has, like, seen visions of heaven, I could imagine how that would induce a little bit of pride. I mean, Moses was a rather prideful man, but he saw God.
Was Moses prideful?
Moses
was pretty timid.
Moses was pretty timid. But there are stories of, like,
he got prideful later.
Later on in life.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I tend to focus more on the latter life of Moses just because the things that he deals with, like the anger when he, like, strikes the rock and the...
Oh, yeah. That's why I just studied that a few
Really?
months ago. Not right now.
It's such an interesting
Yeah.
story. God still listened and like provided water for the Israelites, but also he was like, and also I'm gonna strike a couple people dead because Moses messed up.
Yeah. Also, you did not bring up my favorite part about that passage. About the thorn in the side.
Back
is
to
that God's power is made perfect in our weakness. I love that.
Yes.
That part specifically.
Yeah.
But I found another verse just thinking about this.
Oh my gosh.
Another verse
We're riffing off of each other.
that exemplifies this idea way better than the verse I read beforehand. So I'm going to read it. It's okay. Hebrews 12:2. I'm reading the ESV version, the extra spiritual version.
Don't even with me.
English Standard Version.
I'm an NIV purist, I admit.
What does it stand for?
The New International?
No, the fake one.
I don't know.
Well, it's not extra spiritual, I'll tell you that.
Okay. I just like international things.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to read it now. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. And so Jesus is like a perfect example of what happens in this kind of scenario. He had to suffer the trials and the shame.
Yes.
I couldn't say the word shame. I'm sorry. And the shame of the cross, but because of the joy set before him, he continued on, and so that he would take the seat at the right hand of God. And so, like, it's the same exact idea for us. Is like, it's specifically saying in this verse, look to Jesus and how he did this.
Yeah.
Because we know where we're going, because we know our place.
Yeah.
We can endure all things. And Jesus, the perfect man, even endured death on a cross where he was despised for the joy set before him. Yeah, I think that fits it a little bit better than the one I did.
I agree. I think that's a little bit better verse.
Yeah.
But now time to bring up like my favorite thing, the verse that you read.
Oh.
I've always loved the bit in there about how he despised the shame. Because it does show that like even Christ as a perfect example of the Christian walk, he was perfectly in step with God, because he was God. But the fact that he despised the shame, and even like right before he was crucified, there's the part where he's praying and he's just like like Lord, like take this cup of suffering away from me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's so interesting because it does show like this very human aspect of Jesus that I think is sometimes forgotten, where it's like he didn't like it.
Yeah.
There are all these like. I think that a lot of the times we forget that like Jesus was crucified, and all of these like super holy images of him, like like he's up on the cross and there's blood pouring, but he's still like looking up to heaven, hopefully, or whatever. And it's like the dude was bleeding a lot.
Like he literally said, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" while he was up there.
Yeah, he was in a good amount of pain.
Yeah.
And I've just always found it interesting. Like, why? I don't know. Why do we so often forget that Christ did not enjoy that?
Yeah.
That was not his favorite thing in the world. That was like I don't understand how we look past that. Like there is shame. Death in and of itself, like there is shame and something to be despised in death. And Christ experienced that. And that's why it has no more power over us, is specifically because Christ went through that on our behalf. He experienced all of that shame for us so that he would be counted, or not so that he would be counted as righteous, but so that his righteousness would be counted towards us.
And we would become his righteousness. Craziness. But what...
Craziness.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're his righteousness, honestly. But outside of that, back to what you were despising the shame part. What I always took that is like it's not a good thing for God himself to be shame, like put to shame. Like people are ashamed of him, and like like what you're saying, death itself is a shame. It's not good. If God is life, then death is the opposite of God, and therefore bad. And so, like, no, he does not like dying, and no, he does not like being like the name of God and like his name being put to shame, and that's good and holy of him to not like those things. And so if you think he's going through all these things and being like happy that it's happening, then you don't have a right view of God, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Aside from that, I want to move on to your feature presentation.
Feature presentation. So I don't think I'm going to be talking for that long today. I don't think. We'll see what happens.
It's okay. We'll do a shorter one and see if people like it more.
People like it. But yeah, so here we go. I want to talk about Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
And I'm going to talk about Harry Potter without mentioning any of the characters in Harry Potter.
Okay. You just mentioned Harry Potter.
So. No, I mentioned the series Harry Potter. I want to talk about Harry Potter.
Now it's called Wizarding World. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Get out of
Let's
here.
not even.
You're a fake fan.
You're a fake fan.
What?
Ugh.
Why am I a fake fan? Because you wanted me to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a member of the fandom, I can shame other members of the fandom.
We should talk about that again.
Anyways, so what I want to talk about is the room of requirement. So to explain this to anyone who is either out of the loop or just doesn't know what I'm talking about, in the Harry Potter book series, at one point,
it's in the Order of the Phoenix is when it pops up, I think.
I believe so. Order of the Phoenix.
I think it's like referenced and you never knew it until then.
Yeah.
Before.
Well, yeah, Dumbledore uses it. Anyway, but point is, I want to talk about the room of requirement. Because there's another name for it at some point, and I'm blanking on it. It's like the room of all things lost or something.
I'm looking for it.
Please do. I'd like the actual confirmation on this. But point is, I want to talk about the room of requirement. Specifically, I want to put a little analogy, a little spin, a little pizzazz in there because of this idea of mercy and forgiveness. Maybe not so much grace, but I want to talk about mercy and forgiveness and how they relate to the room of requirement. So now, let me explain what it is. So the room of requirement is this special room in Hogwarts, which is the wizarding school in England in the world of Harry Potter. So in Hogwarts, there's this special magical room called the room of requirement, and basically it becomes whatever you need it to become. Even if you don't realize what it is that you need, it still does it for you. Now I remember what it was. Dumbledore, he mentions it briefly to Harry Potter in an earlier book because he's talking about like, oh, I needed to use the restroom. And
there it was.
And there it was. The room is literally anything. There are times where like somebody like Filch will need like a broom or something, and he's like, oh, it's like an extra like storage room or whatever. The whole thing in I believe the Order of the Phoenix, the room of requirement becomes a very big thing because they need a large room to secretly practice their magic, their defense against the dark arts. And the room just becomes a giant room with like training dummies and everything that they would ever need for expressly that purpose. Later on, when Dolores Umbridge finds out about this room and she like breaks in, there's a point where she's like wondering, she's like, oh man, like how am I ever going to get all the people who were like in here and like using this room? And this isn't in the movies, but in the books it mentions that like her eyes were like directed to this sign-up sheet for it, and so she had a list of everyone who was interested in using this room. Anyway, well, if you are a student at Hogwarts and you have made some type of mistake and you have something that you just want to forget about. If you have something and you just want to throw it away and you want to put it somewhere where no one's ever going to find it, you can go to the Room of Requirement and it will turn into this room where in the books it says generations of Hogwarts students have thrown away things that they have like regretted.
Yeah, it's like huge.
It's this vast room. And I think that it's interesting because specifically there's an element of catharsis that I've always thought about with that. Because again, the room does whatever you need it to, even if you don't realize that it is doing what you need it to. So if you have something and you want to get rid of it, you can go to this room and you can drop it off. And as you're walking out, I'm sure you would like be walking out and you would look around this room and you would see all of these insane things that like everyone else has, like all these mistakes that were made. Harry goes into that specific, I don't know, function, if you will, of the room a couple different times. And every time he sees like all of these different things that like, he's like, oh my gosh, like look at all these mistakes and like all these blunders by all of these other students. But anyway.
Okay.
So my idea, and how I'm tying this into the idea of like forgiveness or mercy, is just the fact that these students can go somewhere and just drop off their guilt. They can drop off their shame, and there's no condemnation in that way. In the Half-Blood Prince, Harry and Ginny both go there, and Harry gives Ginny this. Oh my gosh!
You're good.
Okay, he gives her this book that he needs to get rid of, and she hides it, so he doesn't know where it is. I was like, what's the shortest way I can describe this? Anyway, so she hides this book that he needs to get rid of.
Okay, so
and in that, like, he is no longer part and parcel of that. Like that's behind him now. He no longer has that book. There's this element of catharsis where it's just like suddenly, as a character, he is free of that. And not only is he free of that, but he sees around him like all of these other mistakes that were made by other students and how all of this collective guilt has been placed there. And then, fast forwarding to the very last book in the series, I don't remember if it's Crabbe or Goyle, but somebody casts this insane fire spell and basically burns and destroys everything in the room. All of this collective guilt that had been dropped off in this room is in one foul swoop destroyed and completely removed. So there is no more guilt to be felt because none of those things even exist anymore. So.
Okay. So the idea is basically like coming to the throne of grace, right?
Yeah.
Like you can just go with whatever you have and it will be taken away from you, right?
Yeah.
Because, and like the idea with the room with requirement is it knows what you need. And so when you're going to it in that place where you need to get rid of something or you know something's wrong and you're trying to take care of it, it will give you a room where you can just get rid of the thing that is like either hurting you or putting you to shame or causing you lots of trouble, and you can just drop it off and it's gone, and it's free access to anyone. But you have to be like willing to understand that you need to get rid of the thing.
Yeah, you have to know it's there. You have to go there. You have to be willing to get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can't. It's okay. So is it like? Keep going. Do you know the Throne of Grace verse reference I was saying?
Yeah, I understand the reference that you're going for. I don't know the verse off the top of my head, but
neither do I. So I'm looking at.
Okay. I did tell Noah as I was going into this. I was like, hey, I don't have any verses to point to. I just know that I'm very generally talking about the idea of like forgiveness and grace.
We're in Hebrews again. Woo!
Dude, Hebrews is such a good book.
It's good stuff, man. I'll read NIV since you're doing it.
I do love NIV.
So let us... Oh, sorry. That was NLT. My bad. NLV, let us... Oh my gosh. NIV, let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need, in our time of requirement. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
The throne.
Whoa.
What? Anyway.
So, my thing here is this. To summarize my long-windedness, I just simply think, hey, it's incredible that in the Harry Potter series there is this... I don't want to make the full comparison to say that it's like the throne of God, in the sense that, no, it's not like it's forgiving them for their sins or anything. Mm-hmm. That's not...
It's all metaphor.
It's all metaphorical, and the metaphor does not complete itself.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that I think that it's beautiful that in the Harry Potter world there is this room, this place that you can go to drop off like your deepest regrets and, you know, like not be held accountable to that anymore.
Yeah.
To be able to like leave that, and then within the world of Harry Potter, the room itself does not burn down, but all of the guilt, all the shame, all the sin, if you will, that is held within that room at one point is destroyed.
Yeah, so I want to like say something like completely with that, is that like it takes all this shame free of charge.
Yeah.
It just takes it, and now this room has all the bad things, all the shame, all the whatever in it. And then it itself doesn't stop existing, and that shame is still placed on that room. Mm-hmm. But then it is used in a way that it destroys all the shame and all the bad objects and all the guilt that was thrown into it and that it freely took from the students there. And so that's the same. That like lines up with God, in that he like takes all the guilt and shame, and then later, like in the cross, he takes the punishment that would have absolved us of that guilt and shame. Yeah. But because he himself, just like the room, didn't do anything wrong.
Just like the room.
He continues to exist. He continues to live, where if we... This is where the metaphor falls apart. But if we kept the guilt and shame and sin in our lives, and we took the punishment, it would not be good for us. And we would not come back to life afterward or anything like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm following what you're putting down.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I looked it up. The room of requirements, only other name is the come and go room. There's no room of unending whatever.
Unending whatever.
So, I don't know where you got that from.
It has another name. I'm pretty sure. I promise. I think.
Okay.
I
don't think it does. I looked it up. I went to like 4 different fandom websites.
I went to 4 different... If the fandom doesn't think it exists...
Specifically with the Harry Potter fandom, if the Harry Potter fandom doesn't tell you, then it probably isn't true. Because they're a little too much.
They're a little too... Okay. Be that as it may. But yeah, I think that there's something to be said for that. Again, so for a little bit of distinction, forgiveness, grace, and mercy. So forgiveness is just kind of being like, oh, you're forgiven, like you've moved past that. Grace is like if you've done something wrong, like in the words of like using like more legal terms. But if you did something wrong legally, if you I don't know, stole something, mercy would be like not being held accountable for that. With forgiveness, like you can be forgiven of something, like, oh, you know, like, okay, like I forgive you, but you can still be held accountable for your actions. Whereas with mercy, you would be like, if you stole something, like you wouldn't be held accountable for the punishment. Whereas with grace, that would be like if you stole something and the person was like, oh, like, you know, like you're forgiven. Not only are you forgiven, but there's no punishment. And not only that, but hey, keep the thing as well. You need it more than I do, so to speak.
What I always go to in explaining this is forgiveness, but I always say justice.
Okay.
Grace, or mercy and grace.
Okay.
And the example is someone on the street walks up to you and punches you in the face.
Okay.
Justice is punching them in the face back.
Okay.
Mercy is even though they deserve to get punched in the face, that's why it's just for you to do that. Mercy is just not punishing them. Grace is saying, that was the best punch I have ever received. Here's $20. In response to that.
What?
It's like complete 180 from like, here's what you deserve. I'm not going to give you what you deserve. I'm going to give you something you completely don't deserve that is also good, is how those things track. And I don't know how that works into the room of requirement, but...
Yeah, I liked mine more.
You were just doing like general concepts.
Yeah, not a fan. Anyway, but I will say, I got it now. I figured out the name that I was looking for.
Good.
The Room of Hidden Things. Draco Malfoy refers to it as the Room of Hidden Things.
Because he doesn't know what it actually does. He just knows you hide stuff in it.
Yeah, because that's where he had the... Anyway, we're not going to get into all that, but point is, it's the Room of Hidden Things. And that I think that helps me out a little bit, where it's just like, oh, like in one sense, it is this room of hidden things, where you go and you drop stuff off, and it is hidden. It is taken away from the rest of the world. But then also, that's just one function of the Room of Requirement.
Yeah.
It gives you what you require.
Yeah, but... Well, yeah, the room of requirement also is like, I think the metaphor can build a little bit more in that, like, whatever you need, it's there.
Yeah.
It has it. It's not just taking away the shame and guilt or the bad thing. Mm-hmm. It's also, hey, you need a place to sleep. We got beds. Hey, you need a place.
Yeah.
You need a place to practice magic. We have all the books and equipment you need. And so, like, it fills every need where you cannot. And so I think that builds into the metaphor of room of requirement equals God in some way.
Yeah.
Aside from that.
Equals God.
So we're done?
Yeah, we're
That's
done.
Future presentations.
That's future presentation.
Neither of ours was a feature.
You know what? That is true. That is true. We're slowly getting more off topic.
Yeah. Great.
Woo.
Next time I think we'll just both do a movie.
Yeah.
Unless we can't think of one.
That'll be true. I mean, I really want to go see Invisible Man.
Okay.
I really want to see Invisible Man. And I'm going to really struggle to think of gospel themes in a horror movie.
No, but I can already think of one.
His hidden love seeks us out.
No. Okay. Basically, the enemy, the devil, is like the invisible man.
The Prince of the Air?
What?
What? Have you never heard Satan referred to, the Prince of the Air?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I was like, dude.
Just let me finish my thought. Okay, so like in the premise of the movie is girlfriend and boyfriend's abusive, and so she leaves him, and then the boyfriend comes up with a plan, and he makes himself invisible, but it makes it look like he killed himself, but then he's still like stalking and abusing her through the fact that he's invisible the whole movie. If you watch this isn't spoilers because we haven't seen the movie, and this is just in the trailers. But like, also the premise of the original is nothing like that.
Is nothing like this.
But
the original Invisible Man is so different.
Because it's a horror movie and not a sci-fi movie like the original.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it plays into like the enemy, the devil. Mm-hmm. Like you often just don't see him, and you think it's just circumstances or whatever. But like there is someone pursuing you, and once you are able to accept that as like a Christian, other people will look at you and be like, that's just a circumstance, get over yourself. Yeah. Or like that's just your anxiety or whatever. But like it could be. But no, it could be, but like he does interact with us. He does tell us lies that lead us down the wrong path. So That's what I pulled out right now from thinking about the trailer.
Wow, that's dark, man. See, I was trying to think of something like, oh man, the gospel, and you're over here like Satan.
I mean, you can't really go tell the gospel without admitting Satan exists. So,
why do I need Jesus? And you're like, well, no reason really. Well, just a suggestion.
If you tell people about the gospel, you have to tell them about the fall, and if you tell them about the fall, you have to talk about the devil, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so that's our Invisible Man feature presentation.
Mini feature presentation. On the spot.
Okay. Aside from that, do you have anything you want to ask the audience? Since there is an audience now.
Since there is now officially an audience. Okay. Nothing really specifically. I just want to say, based off the day that we are recording this, we are a couple days out from a very good friend of mine's birthday. So, Matthew Newcomer, I just wanted to say, happy birthday, buddy. This is definitely going to be coming out after your birthday. Undoubtedly is coming out after your birthday.
Both birthday things we did this week. No way they're going to listen to it on their birthday.
But my friend Matthew, his birthday is coming up. I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday. And also, Noah.
What?
My friend Matthew. He's very into board games and card games.
Oh my gosh, don't bring this up.
Don't bring this up.
Not at the end.
Not at the end.
Not at the end of the podcast. Don't bring up that game. We'll just talk about it next time if you're curious.
Yes.
If you want to know what we're talking about, you can email us at ocvepod@gmail.com or tweet us at OCVE space.
You have to stop and think about it every time.
Thanks for interrupting the at. The at OCVE space pod on Twitter, or the same thing on Facebook. If you want to hear what we're talking about, tell us and we'll explain it next week. Because Elias has wanted to talk about this board game since the beginning.
Oh my god, I want to talk about this board game so badly.
But you're not going to. Not yet. Also, if you want Elias to sing us in next time, please tell us.
Why are you pushing so hard for that time?
I want people to make you do it, okay?
I want it to be forced and not natural at all.
Yes. Also, if you have any questions or any comments on what we've talked about, or if you have your own feature presentation idea that you want to talk about or even present to us or have us talk about or anything like that, be sure to contact us. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Play, and on YouTube. So if you really want to help us out, recommend us to a friend and follow or subscribe or whatever it is on the podcast app or YouTube. Thank you very much for listening. Elias, you have anything you want to say?
I'd like for you to stop that. Okay. No. So, the audio capture thought that was very interesting.
Yes, it did.
Anyways, but no, all I want to say is that thank you all for listening. As always, it's your support that's going to keep us going and continue to inform us that this is something that we should be making. So just thank you for being there. We really appreciate it. Anyway, you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and it's a pleasure as always. So, goodbye.
All right, we're going to stop recording. It's going to be really awkward like it is every time. Yeah,
bye.
We hit the stop button.